Let's go to the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa entering year two, somewhat of a disappointing year last year. I guess the first question with Tua, they get Jalen Waddle, they get Parker back, obviously. So what can Tua be a relevant fantasy quarterback, assuming he starts all of the games? Like, does he have that kind of late round quarterback appeal, or is he a guy that should be going kind of, in that quarterback 24, 23, 24 range that he's going right now?
No, I think he does have that talent to be worth it as ADP. And you forgot one guy that they added. It's Will Fuller.
How could I? Yeah, it's my guy, man. How could I forget him? Yeah.
He's going to be out week one, but after that, I think he and Waddle are why I like Tua. Now, Tua certainly hurts those guys' fantasy prospects. Like, I'm not necessarily targeting those guys because of Tua, but I think they both help elevate Tua's ceiling. I mean, he has to break out this year. If he doesn't, the Dolphins are in trouble. I think it'll help that, he doesn't have Ryan Fitzpatrick on the sideline. This is his job. I think we can count on him to start every game when he's healthy. So I think that comfort level of him and the potential he still has, I still think he has potential. I'm ranking him as my QB 18. So I think he's well worth ADP right now.
And so you think Brissett, is not on the same level of Fitzpatrick in terms of a threat to his starting role, I guess you could say.
No, not at all. I think, he might be a threat if they start to use him like the Colts did as some like goal line back. That will be infuriating, and that's something that will impact Tua's projections considerably. But right now, I just think they're going to use him 100% of the time. I think last year was just Brian Flores just being cold-blooded and doing whatever it takes to win. I think they're going to trust Tua. This is a normal offseason. Tua's coming off a pretty significant injury heading in his rookie season, so I think we have to kind of look past a lot of the warts that he had in his rookie season.
Yeah, I think Tua has some upside there. I don't think I'm as high as 18. I think I'm still in the 20s with Tua, just because I do think there's that uncertainty of, how much are they going to use Brissett? Are they going to use him on the goal line? Tua is not really a big scrambler or anything, so he's not adding as much rushing. So it's all dependent on, these receivers staying healthy and really being as advertised. That would kind of prop him up. So I'm not going into the teens yet. What about the running game? You have Myles Gaskin had a breakout year last year. His standing is kind of, is he really the guy, or, is somebody else going to eventually take over, kind of like he emerged last year? What do you think of Gaskin?
I hate to say this, but he is like my prototypical frozen pond type of running back. I mean, you want to love the guy. Like, heading into week one, I'm going to project him pretty highly. But just the over the course of the season, we don't know, man. I mean, he was a 7th round talent, so we can't bank on his talent. You kind of alluded to it. We can't trust that he'll be the starter all season long. And like I mentioned already, Brian Flores is pretty cold-blooded. He comes from that Bill Belichick coaching tree where, he has no qualms to just bench a guy out of the blue. So I think it could be a hot hand approach. I mean, they have Salvin Ahmed and Malcolm Brown now. So, it's no guarantee that Gaskin's going to be the starting back all season long. So I think I'm a little bit cautious taking him at his ADP in the, 25 to 30 range. I think, you're taking him high enough where he does, he has to start 10 plus games to hit ADP. So I'm shying away. And, I'm more interested in maybe taking the backups at a cheaper price, because I think this running game could be pretty volatile week to week.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more into Gaskin. I think he's just because he's going at that back end. He's the RB24 in terms of ADP. He's kind of going at the back end of that RB2 tier or a high end, flex high end RB3. But I just look at, when he went down last year and, he missed 4 games. So he came back and, he essentially retained his role, and then he misses a couple more games on the COVID list and comes back and plays 76% of the snaps. So he was right on his, normal season averages. And he played well for the most part. I think he's a real plus as a receiver for them. Flores did say he's kind of their spread back, and I think they're going to run a lot of that, especially, upgrading at receiver. So just looking at their depth chart, it's hard to see who would jump him. Malcolm Brown was added. I think we kind of know what Brown is at this point. He's a good veteran to have on the roster. He's probably an upgrade on a guy like Patrick Laird. But overall, yeah, I don't really think that Ahmed, just given the fact that Gaskin took that role back so easily, is much of a threat either. So I actually like that they got Brown. I think that makes it a little more comfortable than if they had gotten someone better, I guess you could say. So I don't mind Gaskin.
I mean, Raybon, that's the thing with the frozen pond. He looks great on the surface, but
right?
He's nice. So
you could just think, yeah.
You just have to be careful.
Yeah, no, I just don't think he's a bad back, is what I'm saying. Right, like, I don't think he's like, they're just actively looking to upgrade, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it could happen. He has only
and
2/3
I think, yeah, I know it was a good endorsement for him that they didn't attack running back until the 7th round. So I think, he survived the NFL draft, but I think that Brian Flores, he's going to be hard to trust, similar to Belichick when it comes to running backs.
Absolutely, yeah, Belichick school. And then what are you looking at for Waddle in terms of his outlook for year one?
I mean, I want to like him, but like I said, just with Tua, you're kind of banking on Tua having a year 2 breakout. So I think he certainly makes stacks. If you're playing best ball, stack Waddle with Tua, you're kind of banking on Tua having that breakout. But I think Waddle helps Tua more than the other way around. I just don't know how the snaps are going to be distributed with Fuller once he's back. Waddle, you have Devontae Parker. I mean, Preston Williams still might factor in, and then Mike Gesicki. I just don't know if there's enough yards to go around to be really content with Waddle. He has that big playability, but he's going to need volume to be a consistent player. So I think he's a guy where, if Will Fuller eventually misses time, that's when he'll probably hit his, wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 potential. But it's hard to really like him at his current ADP as much as, I think he has the talent to be a wide receiver 2. It's just really hard to project this team right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gesicki, so I'll just ask one more question before we get into our Dolphins prop. You have Fuller at wide receiver 35, Parker wide receiver 42, Waddle wide receiver 45 in ADP, and then you have Mike Gesicki at tight end number 10 in ADP. Who's the best value out of those 4? Do you think?
I think if you get Devontae Parker a bit later, he tends to be the wide receiver that people draft the latest in drafts. I think just taking the cheapest guy, honestly, out of that trio is the way to go, because it's going to be so even. And he already has some chemistry with Parker, so I think that bodes well for Parker heading into 2021. But like I said, I think this is a tricky wide receiver trio to project right now. So I'd be more interested in just stacking them in best ball. You don't know which weeks these guys are going to go off, so best ball kind of helps a lazy person decide when to start guys. So I think Parker right now, I'd lean to go later in the drafts.
Ooh, we got to get some side action, because I think I'd have Parker the worst value out of those guys, because I'm looking at what happened last year, and Tua was disappointing, obviously. And what did Miami do in the offseason? They go out and essentially upgrade their top 2 spots from Parker and Gesicki to Fuller, and Waddle potentially even this year could usurp those guys. So I actually think Fuller's still the best, because I think he's the best player of that bunch. And before he got that suspension, I mean, he was one of the best receivers in the NFL. I think he still has that potential. So I think it's Fuller for me with Waddle second, just because I don't think they were happy with their receiving core last year. So that's going to be an interesting one to check.
I'm projecting Fuller and Waddle higher. I'm just saying there's some drafts where Parker falls into the wide receiver 55 range.
Oh,
so
yeah,
again, this is value. I agree with you. Fuller and Waddle definitely just raw projection way higher than Parker.
All right, so what's our Dolphins prop?
So my Dolphins prop is Tua touchdown passes, and considering I'm higher on him than you might go under here, but I have the line set at 23.5.
That's actually pretty close to what I have it. I believe I have it. Actually, I have it a little above. I have it at 24 point something. I do have him projected for to start 16 games. So that's, there's some uncertainty there. I think, there's a floor there, but if he plays his median, I think he throws about 1.5 touchdowns per game, considering who's on the team now. Fuller's a guy that, he he can catch touchdowns. We've seen that in the past. Waddle and Parker's obviously and Gesicki are still good players, and Gaskin's a good receiver out of the backfield. So yeah, I think he has a lot of upside. And yeah, I'm right with you there. I'm right around that 24 mark.